We invest heavily on QA side. For one, we do invest in manual QA to start with, and we have a wonderful institute within Wrike which graduates this manual QA to QA automation. By itself shows the ability that as Wrike we are not only looking at leveraging engineering competences one way, we are prepared to invest in their engineering competence and give them a path to grow. And I think QA is a good school to initially provide that offering, because anybody who comes in with manual QA, at least this is so true on the Indian eco space, any manual QA engineer wants to upskill himself and become an automation QA engineer. And if that is something which from Reich we offer through a institute which we have built, and I did hear from Yuri that we have built 50 to 100 QA automation engineers out of the school is pretty commendable by itself, Anton, right? I think that's on the QAs. But the way I am seeing the way the team is structured, I don't think it is going to be limiting for anybody to start as an engineer here in an IC role and growing into a senior engineer. And the way we differentiate senior engineer is not by years of experience. And this is a cultural flaw which I saw between what India candidates expect to what we do within Reich. And there is a small history to it. I will take this opportunity to call out. In India, if you do talk to candidates, he will qualify himself as engineer or senior engineer, more driven by years of experience. 1 to 3 years as engineers, 3 to 5 years as senior engineer, 5 to 8 years as lead engineer. Nothing wrong. That is the culture of what has been built in our ecoscape, driven by how services organization operate. Services organization, engineers are commodity who are built for their competency. And typically 1 to 3 years, they are built as engineers, where the rate card is 1. Senior engineers 3 to 5, the rate card is different. Lead engineers, the rate card is different. So that way I have been in organizations in the past where usually driven by years of experience, people are graduated, not driven by competence. But ideally an industry should identify competency in an engineer to identify whether he is an engineer working at a task level, very guided to what needs to be done, to a senior engineer who has graduated from task level that he can take ownership of a feature. He understands what it means to contribute to a feature in terms of design, technology, task, breaks it down, and then he's able to do it. And at a lead level where he doesn't do this, but he also is able to guide other team members, right? That aspect of clarity I saw is very clear in how Reich operates. And I think it is not how Reich operates. I believe that is how any product company will operate, driven by competency of what an engineer is capable of. But when I do here talk to engineers, their expectation is I am 3.5 or 4 years experience and I should be recognized as a senior engineer. In those cases, when we hire them in Reich as individual contributor, it takes some level of conversation to communicate this insight for them to understand. There are few engineers, they are always outliers who believe experience is only driven by number of years. They don't resonate with us, in which case it is fair. Best of luck to them. They can pursue their career in services industry, which acknowledges their years, but not their competency, and we will still look for competency. Most of the candidates, whoever has gone through our rounds of interviews, which involves one technical, there is one departmental discussion, and then there is a cultural interview, are very appreciative of the fact as to how this process is driven. And for many of these candidates, this very approach has given them confidence. There is structure in how we operate. And if they have a structure in an interview process, in their discussion, they bring it out. What is your structure in terms of career growth? And the way I position it is very similar to what I had called out in the past. Come in, be part of a global Scrum team. It gives you visibility not only to India engineers whom you have been focused with. It now gives you a scope to interact with engineers globally. And that is when they will realize in Reich, we have engineers at a much senior level who are hands-on, who are very competent in the product, the platform, what I call as a domain. Then also on the technology side for them to learn from and grow. I think from our perspective, you can come in as an individual contributor, be part of a global Scrum team, grow, learn, get into a senior level, start owning up your feature where you're totally responsible for the feature, then graduate into a team lead, Not only be responsible to yourself, mentor two more people who are junior enough, and then getting into a unit manager level. And unit managers level in Rike are not people managers. They are tech managers who know the technology, they know the product, they know the domain. Grow into it. I think that itself is going to be very driven for most of these engineers. One thing which I do call out irrespective of experience is eagerness to learn and be up to date in terms of where the market in terms of technology is trending. Not exactly that everybody needs to be an expert in everything, but at least being aware, where is the technology trending, where do you think the technology is today, where it is trending for tomorrow, is there anything I can upskill myself in terms of this technology where I can contribute, could be one definitive thing. That is only possible in a candidate who has a soft skill that he wants to learn something new every day. The ability to converse with candidates and understand what he or she has learned for the last 3 months itself will indicatively tell you whether the candidate have that interest to learn and grow. Usually what happens is many a times driven by what they do day to day, they become complacent. They are not too excited to learn anything new, and that doesn't resonate with me. Even though we can consume them for their current work driven by the need, there is not much we can expect from them of what we need to be tomorrow. So that way, anybody who is more than willing to learn, anybody who is willing to know where the current trend is, where the future trend is. The second part, predominantly as an engineer, I think you also need to be communicative and be open and transparent. This is one other challenge in our country. There are a lot of good competencies, but they may not be as open and transparent in the conversation. So, the one thing which culturally we are also looking for is somebody who has open communication, who is not shy to give away inputs, whether at whichever level of the organization, right? I think that is another aspect. But that is somehow a cultural thing. I think there are a lot of competent guys in India who don't have that skill for reasons of where they have engaged in the past. But if you see, they have the other softer skills that they are open, they can be driven to communicate. I tend to invest in them, so that we'll invest in them and we'll bridge that gap, so they will be communicative in our ecoscape and they can become better. So I think aptitude, ability to learn, ability to challenge themselves and come and contribute in a new environment would what I look for in anybody for that matter. There are two aspects of Agile I call it out. One is Agile Scrum as an engineering process is one, but the bigger aspect, if a company has to be successful in terms of Agile Scrum, I think the organization itself has to be Agile. It's not just only engineering processes being Agile will ensure an organization will be successful. That is where when I look at Rike, even the very process of how we operate as OKR, and this is something if I remember Atten you called out in our last discussion, objective key results approach of what we take, I think that itself is a huge winner of sort. Now, driven by that approach, however we operate, and if I were to look at specific on the engineering side, we operate as an agile scrum teams, right? There are 18 to 20 odd agile scrum teams, each composing anywhere between 9 to 15 man team. Each team all encompassing, starting from a product manager to a product designer to a back end to a front end to a QA to QA automation to technical writer. I think the team itself is composed in a fashion, it is very agile in terms of what it needs to achieve, focused on a particular customer outcome of whatever we have committed. One or n agile teams coming together and achieving it itself is a goal by itself. A scrum just enables you through its defined process of how you can make it happen. So I think that way we have got both the practices in an agile scrum team in terms of how we operate, which is all encompassing. The other aspect that we first talk to customers, figure out what the customer challenges, take their objective outcome of what we need to achieve for a customer, trying to break it out as our key criteria of what we need to achieve, calling out each criteria and then saying what are the results for each criteria. I think that approach itself gave me a lot of confidence when I looked at engineering way of working. When I today talk to candidates and they ask me, Subbu, what is our model of engineering? This is exactly how I explained to them. You are going to come in, incubate in my team in India, and you are going to be part of a global Scrum team. By global Scrum team, I said this is the team structure of what we have. right? So that way you're going to get exposed not to people of only your competence, but people of competence across various skill sets. It is this team you're going to work with, it is this team you're going to contribute to, and this team will very clearly define what is the objective, what is the outcome we need to achieve. This also, when I talk to candidates, Anton, it resonates because most of them do today know Agile Scrum process. But if you ask me, many a times I have seen Agile Scrum wherein product management sits outside. It is not integral to that. And I have seen challenges come out of it. It is not cyclic by nature, right? And how we operate, I think it's very, very cohesive. And I think this is a time tested model because it gives you the ability to adapt easily. Any changes can be adapted, any new request can be adapted. So I think that way our continuous delivery process is very adapted to our way of working. If you have something to contribute in terms of technology, in terms of your innovative mindset, in the space you operate, in the technology you operate, I think you should definitely look at Wrike as a company where you should come as contribute, because we have that mindset. This whole environment is based on the fact we are transparent, we are open. We wanted people to come and question the normal and contribute more. If engineers are out there who have become complacent in their day-to-day working and they want to challenge themselves, I think ours is the company to look at. A very conducive place. We are very open to any form of input and feedback. I am a team player as an individual myself, and I believe the team I build will be also of similar stature. So you can be of whatever skill set. If your requirement or what requirement you come with resonates with our requirement of what we are looking for, you should reach out to us. All our positions are posted in LinkedIn. And what is not posted in LinkedIn, and if you still carry a skill set which you think you can contribute to Wrike, please write to me in LinkedIn. I will reach out to you and I will see how we can make this happen for you.